This is such an incredibly gross take. I hardly know how to respond to it. This comment was left on a video where I was saying that when there is this attitude from people who otherwise claim to be progressive or democratic, who say that they're fine with red states suffering, that they paint red states as like a single entity where everybody there must be a Trump supporter, that they are discounting the fact that there is not one child in the United States who voted for Trump, that no child gets to choose who their parents are, what family they're born into. Children are incredibly powerless, and the fact that they don't get to choose their families, their home, where they live, who is what adults are in charge of them, that is just one component of that. I mean, we can set aside for a second that there is really no such thing as a red state or a blue state. Every state is purple, right? 6 million Californians voted for Donald Trump. In every red state, there are hundreds of thousands of, if not millions of people who did not vote for Trump, who voted for Kamala Harris. We're victims of the active voter suppression that happens in many conservative states where especially Black folks, are disenfranchised and suppressed and unable to vote. But again, no child voted for this. And it actually doesn't do us any good to think of this divide of red America versus blue America. Because if your attitude is, well, that state, Alabama or Arkansas, went for Donald Trump, that means that that's their own fault. They got to live with the consequences of that. For example, let's look at Kentucky, which their farmers right now are getting really screwed. Just like Arkansas and North Carolina, they saw lots and lots of storms, lots of damage. They're actually being denied FEMA money as well by the Trump regime. And it's so easy to say, well, that's what you get. That's the consequences of your actions, without remembering that Kentucky is not just like one entity, it's millions of people. And there are large swaths of the population that didn't vote for this. And yet folks who have an attitude like this want to enact collective punishment on red states. These kinds of comments are only made by blue dots in blue states, blue voters in blue states who sit very smugly and say, my state didn't go for Trump, therefore we're squeaky clean, even though sometimes millions of people in your state did vote for Trump and millions of people in Kentucky did not. And you really see this playing out of all of these toxic patterns in American society, this wanting retribution, this very binary thinking of either all in or all out. Everybody deserves to be punished, or everybody is squeaky clean. You're either red or blue, evil versus good, unworthy versus worthy. And that's such an unhelpful way of viewing what has happened in our country. And if your logic is like, well, red states should suffer because they voted for Trump, but my state shouldn't suffer because we didn't vote for Trump. Well, why is your arbitrary boundary at the state line? Because I'm pretty sure folks in other countries would say, all of America elected Trump, so all of America should suffer. And you would be like, no, but I'm in California. I don't deserve to suffer. They'll say, well, that doesn't matter because your country voted for him. That's the same way that you're treating blue dots in red states. Or like this person, you're treating little children. The sins of the parents are visited upon the children. Very sad. Nothing we can do about. What the fuck do you mean nothing we can do about it? They're on their own? No, they're fucking not. Read The Grapes of Wrath? What the actual fuck are you talking about? You're justifying washing your hands of caring for, trying to protect, or even like having empathy for little children who are being actively harmed by this regime because of a book that John Steinbeck wrote? Like what is wrong with people in this country that you could be fine with little kids suffering under the Trump regime because their parents voted for Trump or because they live in a state that went for Trump? What the fuck is wrong with you? I'm telling you, if we want to differentiate ourselves from Trump, if we want to show that we have a compelling narrative that people should come vote with us, they should come over from Trump's side to our side, we have to be different. We have to distinguish ourselves in some meaningful way. There's nothing progressive about thinking that any little child should suffer and that like, well, this happened in the past. There's a saying, the sins of the parent. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a saying. So like, I can't do anything because there's a saying in our society. So like that absolves me of having to care at all. That's not a progressive ideal. And actually the entire concept of people in red states should suffer more because the state went for Trump. Or the idea that human rights, basic rights, constitutional rights, a good quality of life should only be extended to people who didn't vote for Trump. I'm going to remind folks once again of something that AOC says, and I heartily agree with, that she says, I am fighting for your Social Security, for your Medicaid, for your Medicare, for your constitutional rights, for your rights of due process, whether or not you voted for Trump. Because the thing that distinguishes progressives from the other guys is that we believe basic human rights should be extended to people because they're people, not because of certain behaviors that they've exhibited, not because they have certain political ideals, not because of certain loyalties that they have, not because of any kind of goodness or right behavior that they have demonstrated, but simply because they're human beings. They deserve all of the basic rights and good things that we want for everybody in this country. It's Trump's side that says we dangle things like rights in front of you. We dangle things like food and health care and housing, disaster relief. We make sure that those things are extended to all of the wealthy folks at the top, whether or not they're good and moral. And we definitely make sure their kids get access to all of that. But the rest of you, we will extend those rights conditionally based on whether or not you lick our boots, based on whether or not you kiss the ring. Your constant subservience, obedience, loyalty is demanded for you to get basic rights. That's what the Trump side says. We say that we are advocating for the human rights, the dignity, and the high quality of life that every American deserves. We are advocating for all of those things for every American. And I'm sorry, but we can't be the kind of people that immediately say the most powerless, disenfranchised, helpless class in our society, that we just write them off. The most vulnerable are the folks we should be advocating for first and hardest. And I keep bringing this up because I see so many progressive people. And I would also like to remind people that it's almost always men. It's almost always men who I see with this attitude in my comments. And we could maybe talk in another time about why I think that is. But it's predominantly liberal, progressive, leftist, whatever in that bucket, men who are fine with little kids suffering. If it makes them feel really good, like they're getting their retribution, that Trumpers are suffering through their children. We either want rights for everybody or we're no better than the other side. If we want to persuade people that we are any different, and that our side is worth voting for, and that we offer a compelling vision, a better America, a dream that is more prosperous, where people have rights, where people have access to the things that they want and need, and the good quality of life, the American dream, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We cannot be saying shit like this. We cannot be believing shit like this. I will keep bringing it up. As long as I get comments like this, I will keep talking about this. What differentiates us from them? What reason do we give for people to vote for our side versus supporting his side? If they can't really tell how we're any different, but the other side lets them lean into their racism and their homophobia, what are we doing? What progressive ideals do we even have, right? If we're saying shit like this, please do better, y'all. Please think about what you're saying. Please think about the ramifications of putting out public comments like this. Please spend some time introspecting about what's going on in your heart of hearts when y'all say this kind of nonsense. Because I just see comment after comment after comment like this. These are not isolated one-off events. These are not anonymous accounts posting this. These are people who are proud that they voted for Kamala. These are people who really detest Trump and his positions and do not see the contradiction in taking that position and also upholding this one. The way we win here, despite all the ways that we undermine the authoritarian regime of Trump, but the way we win is that we have a compelling message for America, compelling vision. We need a dream for people to glom onto. We need a worldview that's appealing. We need a message that's compelling, and this is not it.